Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, we are starting a brand new series. And today we are discussing the first book in that fantasy series, An Ember in the Ashes. Stay tuned. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this book discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. Talk about the series with us there, as well as other bookish topics. I hope to hear your thoughts on this book discussion. As always, you can find the three of us on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including this podcast after show. We get even more candid with what we have to say. So if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come on over to Patreon and sign up. Before we get started, I have to issue a spoiler warning. This is a roundtable book discussion, so nothing is off limits. You've been warned. Welcome back to another fantasy series read-along discussion, and today we are talking about the first book in our brand new read-along, An Ember in the Ashes by Sabat Tahir. Joining me are my read-along co-hosts, Casey and Nicola. Welcome back, ladies.
Oh, hello, everybody.
So we're going to start off as we always do with the book stats and the synopsis. Casey, why don't you hit us up with the stats first?
All right. So this is book one in an Ember and Ashes series by Sabat Tahir. It is 446 pages long, published by Razorbill Penguin in February 2016. And the audiobook is 15 hours, 22 minutes long, narrated by Fiona Hardington and Steve West.
Okay, cool. Nicola, if you would.
Yeah, so Laia is a slave, Elias is a soldier, neither is free. Under the martial empire, defiance is met with death. Those who do not vow their blood and bodies to the emperor risk the execution of their loved ones and the destruction of all they hold dear. It is in this brutal world, inspired by ancient Rome, that Laia lives with her grandparents and older brother. The family ekes out an existence in the empire's impoverished back streets. They do not challenge the empire. They have seen what happens to those who do. But when Laia's brother is arrested for treason, Laia is forced to make a decision. In exchange for help from rebels who promise to rescue her brother, she will risk her life to spy for them from within the empire's greatest military academy. There, Laia meets Elias, the school's finest soldier, and secretly its most unwilling. Elias wants only to be free of the tyranny he's been trained to enforce. He and Laia will soon realize that their destinies are intertwined and that their choices will change the fate of the empire itself. I object to the word soon, but other than that, yeah.
I can see that objection. I understand it.
To the very end of the book.
Yeah. So, high level, do you guys like it? You enjoy it?
I I loved it.
Okay.
I liked it all right. It was a little slow for me.
Okay. I really enjoyed it. I think the beginning kicked it off with kind of a bang, and it pulled me in. And then I think there were a couple of areas that could have been tightened up a little bit to keep the pacing up. But overall, I liked it. I was getting all those dystopia YA vibes. Like it was bringing back a little bit of the Hunger Games, bringing back even a little bit of Divergent, like those similar tropes, you know, with the whole fighting and the someone must win kind of thing. I was loving it. I'm like, oh, this reminds me of the good old days when I read a lot of this stuff. Yeah. It's been a while since I read something like this. So
yeah, me too.
All right, let's dive in, y'all. We got a lot to talk about, I'm sure, with this huge, over 400 pages and over 15 hours.
15 hours and 22 minutes.
Yes, 15 hours of audiobook listening. And I did listen to most of this on my drive back from Atlanta, which was awesome. Yeah, that was keeping me very entertained. And that's another thing that I like about audiobooks. Like I was able to do two things at once, and the book was so good. The narrators were so good. I did not zone out at all. I never had to rewind and say, wait, what just happened? What did they say? So that's always a good thing. It kept me like engaged. So I was there for the audiobook. It saved the drive and made it a little bit more fun. So
well, that's good.
Yeah. Good stuff.
I feel like the narrator is a name that I've heard before on the podcast. Fiona something. But
you know what? I think so.
Hardington?
I feel like maybe we've read something else that she's narrated. I'm just gonna look right quick.
I'm not a big audiobook person, so
you know, even though I listen to a bunch of audiobook, I never really retain a lot of the narrators, which is sad. Like their names, like I mean the popular ones, but if it's not someone that's like ultra popular, I'll be like, I feel like I've heard them before, but I can't remember where. It's like one of those kind of things.
Fair enough.
Like staring at an actor's face and going, I know you from somewhere, but what have I watched you in?
Right. No, it's not her. When I clicked on her name, her stuff hasn't popped up for me. Well, stuff that I recognize hasn't popped up. So
yeah, when it comes to actors and stuff, I'm such an old, you guys. I only recognize people that were popular in the 80s and 90s, you know, like George Clooney, Tom Cruise.
Oh,
Val Kilmer, Kiefer Sutherland, yeah.
Now, Steve West, I have listened to some other stuff with him. I listened to the Gemina and Aurora Rising, those Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff books, where they have the huge cast of people. It's really good. So I've heard him before, but I haven't heard
Fiona.
I haven't heard her before. So Fiona, but they were good. I enjoyed it. So let's dive into these characters, man. Okay, let's talk about Laya. Did you guys like her? Like,
I did.
You did?
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
For the first, I don't know, like 3 pages, you know, the very beginning when she's in bed looking at her brother, she felt very young to me. Like I immediately pictured her as like 12, maybe 14. And then, you know, as they're starting to run away, she says she's 17. And I had to go, oh, really? That was like my first impression. So I had to get over that hump. But I thought she had a very beautiful character arc that was accurate. You know, she started off scared and she kept thinking she was scared, but she'd push herself a little bit more. And, you know, she actually had the physical fear and the ghouls manifesting in front of her, and she would run away and hide from them. But then she slowly started fighting them off and yelling at them. So other than like thinking she was 12 for 3 pages.
So one of the things I didn't like overall about the book is, and I think this is a first book syndrome kind of, so it's part of the setup for the whole rest of the series, but I felt like we spent most of the book feeling like both Laia and Elias were just such victims of everything around them. Now, granted, Laia did like stand up to everything. She met every challenge and she struggled to meet every challenge, but it just felt like the whole time things were just happening to them. And that I really loved the ending, but I struggled with the a lot of the book. So.
Oh no!
Oh yeah, that's not a
So
good
I'm going to
thing.
be on brand. I'm going to be on brand for my YA. You know, there's just a lot of angst. There's
There's
the
a lot
love
of angst.
triangle. Well, kind of a triangle.
Oh, that's not a
There's-
triangle to me. Not
it's
really.
kind
Girl,
of a
no.
triangle.
No, it's
okay.
only a triangle if the main person has feelings for both in the same
Can't
way. Like I'm
decide.
in love with two people.
Okay.
He wasn't in love with
Okay.
two people.
Okay.
She wanted to love Keenan, and she was trying to force herself to do it, and he started kissing her, and she's like, no, I'm thinking about Elias. This isn't working.
But even from Elias's point of view, it could have been talked about him having a triangle too.
Yeah.
Although he didn't, not really, like, because Helene is his like best friend, and I think he's attracted to her because like he's a boy
He
and
would
like,
think
hey, she
about
looks
it.
good,
Yeah.
but he doesn't think about her like that. Not how he started thinking about Laia. So even that possible triangle wasn't really a triangle to me. He just needed to sort out. He's just friends with her.
All right.
But as far as Laia is concerned, I didn't have any big issues with her at first, but I feel like I was kind of annoyed by her sometimes. And when I stacked up next to each other, Laia's story versus Elias's story, there were times where I just wanted to stay with Elias' point of view, his things, and I cared a lot less about Laia's point of view. Like, I mean, it's like her stuff was interesting, but not as interesting as Elias to me. So I felt like, she was kind of almost could have been a secondary character. And I hate to say it, but I felt his was a lot more interesting and a lot more.
So you like the trials and all the combat and stuff?
Yeah. His was more in your face, violence, action-y kind of stuff.
Yeah. And I guess I don't mind that. But her stuff was kind of violent too. I mean, the commander is like not a joke. This bitch going around like mutilating people and doing so she had her stuff was no joke too. Her trials were not easy, but
can I make
guess
a prediction?
I just enjoyed. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
This is a little early. I think that Cook is the lioness.
I thought that too, but I wonder if it's her sister instead. Liz?
Maybe.
Oh.
Maybe. I don't know about the ages.
I don't know how old Cook is because, she has the scarred face and they put the coals down her throat. So that could make her look much older.
True.
Liz
was... she's old enough to have like a 17-year-old or a, 15-year-old daughter. Izzy's
not her daughter.
No, that's not her daughter.
I thought it was.
No, they are not related.
Izzy just showed up when she was like 6 and Cook started taking care of her.
Okay.
So Cook's been there like 10 plus years. So, I mean, the timeline would fit if it was either the lioness or Liz.
Okay.
But because the commander, she had the frame of the lioness and she bragged about killing her. I think Laia's mom is actually dead, but maybe her sister, because her sister was 12 at the time.
Did she brag about killing them all or taking them all?
She said I killed the lioness.
Okay.
Or I'm pretty sure she said I killed. Let me pull up my app.
Yeah. So you're thinking, Nicola, that she's not dead and that it's Cook instead of her mother?
I think Cook, when I was reading it, especially when Cook was telling the story about the djinn, I thought Cook was the lioness. I think Liz is a good possibility too. Now that I didn't think of that, but now that you raise it, Casey, I think that's also
I was having that same thought when she was telling the story, and Laia was even like, who are you? Nobody would know this. Everybody who's there is dead.
Right.
Liz might not be dead.
Right. And and just how bitter she was about the lioness.
Yeah, that was very personal. So I think it's Liz. I brought down the lioness herself, is what the commander said.
Aha.
So she
Brought
didn't
down.
say killed. She said brought down. So it could be her, but I'm going to stick with my list prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Didn't come up for you, Tamara?
I mean, I feel like obviously Cook was in the mix of that. And, you know, she was really a
One of the
believer
rebels. Yeah.
and trying to do the thing until she got effed over. And, you know, she's very bitter about it. And I don't blame her because in the end, you know, Laya got screwed too. So it's like, that was important for her to tell that story. But I'm not sure I necessarily think she's the lioness. I don't know.
Hold on. Who has blue eyes? Because Cook has blue eyes. And did any of her siblings have blue eyes? Or her parents?
I had to go back and look. I want to say her brother did.
But the lioness is her mother, right?
I'm searching.
So wait, Laya's mother is who she's referring to when she says lioness.
Yes.
So she would recognize her own mother. She wasn't an infant when she left.
She was
No,
4,
so
and Cook's face is ruined.
Cook's face is ruined, and they also shoved hot coals down her throat, so her voice is ruined too. It's that hoarse, raspy, can't say anything, can't do it, or can't really. She doesn't sound normal.
I'm still gonna say no. I'm still gonna say no because
Okay.
I feel like if
we shall see.
Yeah, but I do feel like if that were the case, they'd have to make a case for coming back to that school eventually, because they left, right? They left, and
Cook might escape by herself. It's book 1. There's 4 books. Also,
but if she told her story, if that were her mother, she would tell her.
Oh,
I don't think.
Yes, she would,
Not
especially
if she's
after
mentally broken.
Yes, she would. I think any mother would tell her, especially after the fact when she knew she couldn't talk her out of going with the rebels. She couldn't talk her out of saving the brother. She was going to do it. She came up with the plan. She was going to execute it no matter what. She had nothing to lose at that point. It was like hell or high water. You're not protecting her anymore at this point. So what is the motivation to keep the secret? The shit's going to hit the fan.
to keep to keep the enemy from using Cook as an emotional hostage against Laya. That's why she wouldn't have told her. Like
she's already an emotional hostage toward her. She develops these strong relationships with her and
well, we'll see who's right, won't we, Tamara?
We will. I mean, but you know, it seems like she connects so easy to everybody, right? She wants to save everyone that she meets.
Like all of our heroines.
Oh yeah.
You know, she's like, she helped me. I must save her. I will give her my passage. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I will. And it's like, you've known her like as long as you've been there.
I love the plan. You know, to quote it. Speaking of being to quote an old TV show, I love it when a plan comes together. I love the ending. I really liked, and I was kind of like, where was this through this whole book? Where was this? I wanted, like, that's what I wanted. So I'm hoping we'll see more of it in the future books.
Oh, definitely.
So what specifically are you talking about from the ending that you want?
The non-passiveness, like, okay, let's make something happen instead of just trying to deflect whatever's happening to us.
So, question to that point, you said the beginning was really slow. How did you feel about Laya immediately going to find the resistance, you know, after her family was killed? Do you think that was passive, or do you think that was her actively trying to do something?
No, that was good. I mean, I didn't hate the whole thing. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. She was trying through the whole thing, but I just feel like, I don't know. She wouldn't have done that if, you know, soldiers hadn't come and whacked her family, right? And she was pretty happy with being sort of squirreled away in this pocket on the back streets. And if it hadn't been for her brother, she would have spent her whole life doing that, or up until the masks came for some other pretext, right? So I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, I would want to stay there and be
Yes.
a
Yes.
HMs my whole life.
Yes.
I would not want to join the resistance and go be a spy. And no.
What's the line about adventures being great stories that happen to other people or something like that?
Yep.
I mean, most people would need some type of catalyst to force them to go do something like
Sure.
that, right?
Sure. Like I say, I didn't hate it, and I didn't start off hating it. I just felt like it was a little bit slow. And she was a little bit whiny in the beginning.
I mean, I did think she was 12 for 3 pages instead of 17.
You know, she was kind of slow on things though. Like, it took her a minute to kind of catch on to quite a few things. Like when Elias like tried to help her, she's like, "Oh, what's he gonna do? Oh wait, he's trying to help me." And that happened like a couple times. Like when he's like, "Oh, you're my prize." Oh, what's he gonna do? Oh my God. Oh wait, he's not doing anything. It's fine. I feel like she was always waiting for the shoe to drop, and that kind of got a little teeny annoying, especially when it was clear. It's clear he likes you. It's clear he's helping you. He helped you sneak out, sneak back in. And he clearly could have given you over at any time. I mean, he's making these extreme chances. He's taking these big chances for you. And then you still think he's going to hurt you? I don't think so. Like, come on, girl.
It's that PTSD, that anxiety, fear, like Marcus tried to rape her multiple times, everybody's always beating on her. She wants to trust Elias, but it's so hard because every time she turns around, somebody's got their hands around her throat or they're carving her up. So I felt like that was more realistic than annoying.
But that flies in the face of what they say about her. Like they pointed out to her, why don't you walk like a slave? You look like you're too, like you're too much.
Yeah, I
like
think that
she
was
still
at the
has
beginning.
Well,
I felt like
even when she left, the first time she left to try to sneak out to, meet the resistance, he even called her out. And she had been attacked at least once by then, at least, maybe twice. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, she wasn't beaten down yet.
Right. So, and I didn't mind that. I don't think she should have been beaten down. It would have made everything she was doing even harder.
I don't see her as beaten down. I see it as that fear of like, oh, fuck, it's the other shoe dropping. I have to fight now. It's not that I'm going to cower in the corner. It's, she thought she was being interrogated when they left her in his room. And so she jumped up fighting, not realizing it was him. And then she was like, oh, shit, I'm locked in your bedroom with you. There's usually only one reason people get locked in a bedroom together.
And that was the reason, right? That was
the reason.
I mean, nominally, I think Cain had ulterior motives, but I took it more as like a comment on his ability to act, right? He to be an actor, to put on that cruel face and to blend in with his the expectations of the upperclassmen, and that was very compelling to her, or that she couldn't see through that facade.
I don't know.
And that's how he survived.
He did a good job. Yeah, he survived. Like no one had a clue that he was ready to defect. He was ready to jump ship and get out of there.
A few people had clues.
Well, I think Helene had a inkling, but she pushed it away, right? She pushed it away.
No, she knew, right? That was that whole thing at the beginning about like she knew his secret. She wanted him to tell her, and she had feelings for him, and he knew that she had a secret, but he didn't know what it was, and she wouldn't tell him that. I mean, that was kind of the big arc in the first, I don't know, when you first meet Helene, that's what's going on between the two of them.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like she had an idea, but I don't think she absolutely knew until he admitted it, because she is a rule follower through and through. Yep. And he knew that about her. So no matter how much he trusts her, he can't really trust her because she's a rule follower, and she believed what they were telling her.
Yep.
So
I also think there's probably a little part of her that said, or was telling herself, he wouldn't leave without me. Like, I'm in love with him, but he's my best friend, and he cares about me. He just wouldn't leave without telling me, or he wouldn't leave me behind. And so I think she was trying to fight that emotion too.
Well, she's such a teenager about it. Like,
She's
she's
such a teenager.
I mean, she's like really, really got upset when he was like, no, we're just friends. And her feelings were hurt. Like, how dare you not like me back,
Well, and he put off some serious mixed signals there in the beginning, right? Because he almost kissed her, and he thought she was being offended by his sort of lustful feelings, like he would have been happy to act on him physically, and he looked at her emotionally like a friend, but I don't think he was not in love with her. And she was all in, and she knew that there was a piece of him that she didn't have or didn't think she had. I don't know. But yeah, so yeah, that was a very teenagery push-pull. Does she, doesn't she? Does he, doesn't he? But he was definitely giving off some mixed signals there. I think he was confused himself. So,
well, yeah, like I said earlier, I feel like he thoroughly was physically attracted to her, right? Like he expressed, "Hey, she's hot now." Like,
yeah.
But that doesn't mean he cared about her like that. And he was always thinking, "I will ruin our friendship if we do that. So I cannot do that."
Well, there was a point where he thought she was mad at him for almost kissing him. Right. And what she was mad at was that he didn't finish the job. Right. So,
he didn't go for it.
Yeah. So he was confused over what at the beginning, he did not get that she wanted him. He did not get that at all.
No, someone had to tell him, like, literally, dude.
Yeah.
Can't you
She's
tell?
in love with you. And he's like, what?
Yeah. Like, okay, teenage boy. You're so silly.
Yeah.
That was a weird aspect. I don't know if we're going to get into it more in the later books, but that whole notion that there's one woman in each class, like, what is that? That's weird. And why? But why? I mean, they just mention it so that she could be there, right? And so that the commandant could be there. But there's no other. I don't know. It just feels a little weird in there all by itself. That little factoid. Like,
see, I must have missed that part. I don't know. I don't remember them saying there was only one woman allowed. I feel like it was just that they couldn't make it out of the beginning trials to get into the school. Like, when they rounded up the children.
Yeah, there's one chosen in every class is what it said.
Okay, well, I don't remember that. I don't know. That's odd. I don't know why.
And then it just...
I mean, a Y would have been nice then. I probably would have remembered it if I got a Y.
Right. So I don't know if it's going to come back in some way or not, but it was a little bit of a weird... To me, that was kind of weird. Like, there's no reason why there couldn't have been more women, I don't know.
Well, I mean, obviously, I feel like the whole end game of this whole thing is for Elias to be in charge of everything, and maybe he can make some changes. I feel like that's the end game here.
Yes.
He'll come back and take down his mother and be in charge of everything.
Well, I mean, let's remember his mother is in charge of a school. She's not the emperor.
No, she is not. But the emperor is dead, and we have a new emperor, which is a whole nother fiasco.
Right, Marcus.
Right, and she is control of him. Right, he listens to her.
Do you notice how we're just completely skipping the whole middle of this book? We're talking about the beginning, and we're talking about the end, and like, I'm okay with that because those are the parts I liked. But I don't know if
in the middle were the trials mostly, right? The trials. That was, I guess, the main event in the middle.
And Laia trying to figure out what was going on with her brother.
Yeah, which I don't. Again, I didn't really care so much for her storyline. I could have done without it. I don't think. Maybe she'll mean more to me in the next book, but I mean, if this was only told from Elias's point of view, and she was in the background, I don't think I would have minded it at all. They didn't need equal time, in my opinion, just because her story just didn't grab me like his grabbed me. But maybe I'll find her more interesting and more something in the next book. Not like I didn't dislike her. I just wasn't like as invested in her part of the story as I was in his part of the story. So now that they're together,
I almost think, maybe I would hate it if they'd done this way, but I almost think like having the third point of view of Keenan or of Mason or of the woman that was Mason's second in command. I forget her name.
Sana, I think.
Sana, started with an S. I wanted to know more what was going on in the resistance. That scene where Mason kind of confesses that he's been using her all along. He never intended to rescue her or her brother. That was a great scene, where she just has this. She's like,
it's betrayal.
It's a big turning point for her, right? And I think that the book might have been more interesting if we had seen more of what was going on. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that scene would have been a lot less less of a revelation. I don't know, but I don't know. I agree there was something a little bit lacking with Laya's arc as far as pacing goes. But I didn't really love the trials either. They were just so bloody and brutal, and that last one where he had to kill all his friends, like that. I was just like,
that was Hunger Games through and through. I'm like, oh shit, you gotta kill your friends? Oh
yeah. See, I didn't read Hunger Games, and that was partly why. but I kept expecting it to be an illusion, to have the the augurs reveal something. I don't know, but
you only get illusions once.
Yeah. But then it kind of occurred to me, like, these are all terrible people, right? Even though they're his friends, they're all terrible people. They're the masks that go around committing atrocities. They are so that made me feel a little bit better.
But the thing is, though, if you were brainwashed to think what you were doing was a good thing, right? And they're all trained to do the same thing, and the people that think different than that are murdered.
Yep. I don't think any of them think they're doing the right thing. I think they're doing what they have to do to survive.
Right. Because there are defectors.
But once they get out of the school, the cruelty seems a lot more willful. Maybe we just don't
I'm sure there are more people like Marcus who enjoy it and revel.
Yeah. And the one that killed her family, although they let her go. So,
well,
I mean, there's bad people, period, right? And I feel like if you're in a situation where you have natural more power than someone else and you're already a nasty person, you're just going to be the worst.
Right. There's the whole Stanford experiment that backs that up. I don't know.
That's actually been disproven.
Really?
Yes, because the men in charge were only cis white men who had money. And if you put other people in charge, people of color, people who live in poverty, they're not that cruel.
Interesting. Interesting.
That's my
Well, I guess what I was trying to say actually is that
people with empathy,
if you're cruel and not in power, you're even more cruel in power. So I don't think these people were not cruel and then they got power and then they became cruel. I think they already had that in them.
And the mask who let her get away, I absolutely thought he was going to come back after her at some point, because he looked right at her and said, run, little girl. And that, like, I'm going to hunt you down, you little mouse, and I'm going to step on you. And, I thought that was going to be a bigger thing. And then she brought him up at the very end.
Right.
He's dead, but I'm wondering if he's going to be one of the masks hunting them down later.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or maybe he was helping her. Like, how Elias presents one way, but he thinks something else. So he had people there. He couldn't be like, oh, run off, little girl. It's okay. We won't hurt you. He had to present like, I'm going to do something to you if you don't get the fuck out of here. Right.
He had just slaughtered 2 old people.
Well, you know what? Maybe he has a line. Some people don't want to hurt kids. Maybe he has.
He was going to let her brother go away.
He was.
Yeah, when he walked through the gate, there was nobody else around. He said, "You can go, but leave your sister behind."
Oh,
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I don't know. It's hard to tell because
That's-
we don't know.
that's not a kindness.
No, it's not. But,
That's a horrible thing.
But he didn't do anything to the sister, and he could have. He could have
Mhm.
very easily, and he didn't.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
Yeah, that's I hadn't given him too much thought, but he could turn up to be an interesting side character in future books, because you remember that was almost one of the very last lines was about how his mother was going to work him over, or Elias's mother was going to work him over.
mhm.
Yeah. Because she wanted
That'd
to
be
kill
worse
him.
than anything you
No.
could do to him.
Leave
Yeah,
him.
So he's
Yeah.
not going to have an eye.
at least maybe a couple digits
Maybe
missing,
scars across his face.
maybe some
he'll be
branding. I mean, who
alive.
knows what she's gonna do to him?
I mean, I don't know. She didn't do that to the student. Well, she killed the students.
Mhm.
the
she whipped them.
defectors.
Like,
Defectors.
yeah,
She whipped them
killed.
till they died.
Yeah.
yes, but she did stuff to the students. We didn't get, like, I guess, a full disclosure of the things she did to the students, but she even threatened them. She's like, okay, look,
Mhm.
do you want to take this beat down instead of the slave, or what you want to do? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
she
I didn't-
obviously hurt the students. It
Yes.
came out like a couple times, but not exactly what she did to the students.
I
Mhm.
didn't get the idea that she would actually like damage them so that they wouldn't be able to fight, like taking an eye or chopping off fingers or something like that. I don't know if that was over the line, because they have to be soldiers, right?
I mean, they don't have to be. There's
we
more
saw
of them.
Elias shirtless, and his back was just
Whipping
massive
is different.
scars. So
Yeah, I feel like whipping is a little different, but at least, I mean, when you think about, it says it's inspired by Rome. I think Europeans have a long history of whipping their military ranks and file, right? So
Not to be funny, but they did that in Hunger Games too. They had whipping scenes. So I feel like there's a lot pulled. When does this come out? When did this book come out? I'm
2016.
curious now.
2016.
Okay, Hunger Games is a lot older than that. This has a lot of that.
Mhm.
That kind of bothers me a little bit. That is so. You guys take a listen to this break. Hear from our sponsors. Click around. Check out the the merch store. Help us out by helping out the
Very
sponsors.
cute mugs. Yes.
Yeah, cute mugs, t-shirts, all that. And we'll be back in a minute. Stay with us. Today's episode is sponsored in part by audiobooks.com. Audiobooks.com now has 175,000 titles and 1.2 million podcasts. New customers get 3 free audiobooks comprised of 1 premium credit and 2 VIP titles. Use our promo code Shelf Addiction, spelled as one word, when you sign up at audiobooks.com. Again, our promo code is Shelf Addiction.
When you place a wager with William Hill Sportsbook, every sports moment becomes even more interesting. And we have a special 2021 offer to help you bet on all your favorite sports risk-free. Download the William Hill mobile app. And when you sign up, you can get started with a risk-free bet of up to $2,021. Use promo code RADIORF. Must be present in Virginia. 21 plus only. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call, text, or chat our confidential and toll-free helpline at 1-888-532-3500. Let's make it interesting with William Hill Sportsbook.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the name your price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the name your price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool. Only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Welcome back, guys. We are back.
Hey.
Let's jump right back on in. We got lots to cover still.
right.
So yeah, let's do it.
No, first, circling back, I want to talk about Laya and her character growth because I disagree with both of you. I think it was beautifully executed. I think it was very accurate from where she started to where she ended. And I also kept seeing parallels between her story and Elias's story, like their character growth. And, it's very subtle because hers is very internal and she's growing as a person. And his, yes, is also internal, but it's him facing his family and fighting his friends and killing his friends and having to figure out, do I love Helena? She loves me, but do I want to kiss her? She's really beautiful, but what's going on? And, all of the trials. It was very symbolic for me as a reader, and I loved all of it. I don't think having Keenan's point of view would have made anything better. I think it would have made it more convoluted and harder to follow. And absolutely looking at the resistance would have been fun, but it would have ruined the surprise for her because Keenan was starting to suspect stuff. And, if we saw those suspicions early on as readers, we would have picked up on it the same way we picked up on Cook. We're like, she's not who she says she is.
Honestly, it probably would have made us not like Keenan because he was so dumb. Like he had no clue what's going on. And then to actually get a peek into how stupid he is would probably make him even more.
We might have hated him a bit more. And it definitely would have been more teenage angsty because he was like, I can't stop thinking about you. And I'm like, oh boy, just slow down. She's just a girl. I know you've lost everybody, but...
Okay, withdrawn.
Yeah.
No, I think if there's like a spin-off series or a series just about the resistance, it would have been good for that.
There could be a prequel.
A prequel, maybe. Even a story about her parents and their life in the resistance.
Oh, I would like that.
That would be really cool to see. But not in this book. I think it'd be way too convoluted. And it's already, almost 500 pages. If they pulled in the resistance storyline, it'd be 600 plus pages.
True.
And not being funny, but I don't think Keenan is a really solid second string character. He's not going to be a main character ever in life. And he's never going to be the love interest of her. There's no
horrible
chance.
thing to say.
I'm sorry.
You are never going to be a main character in life.
You are not. And you are not going to be Laya's love interest. Like, yes, she has some sparks for you, but now that she's going to be spending all her damn time with Elias, you can mark that as a no-go. So I'm just saying, I got to keep it real with these characters. They have to understand their place.
He might be perfect for Izzy. Is it Izzy or Lizzie?
Yeah, Izzy.
Izzy, because she's maybe 15 or 16. Like she's been a slave for a while. She has nobody. She's lost an eye. She has that fire still inside of her. Like as soon as she found out Laya was a spy, she's like, let me help you spy. I want to spy. Get me out of here. Let me do something fun. I may die, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I think the two of them may pair up and go off on some adventures together.
And they might because she sent her
their own story.
She sent her on her passage. So when she gets there, he will be there.
He's going to find her. Yeah.
He's going to find her and it won't be her.
Yeah.
So
no, I think the two of them could go on adventures and be the main character of their story. But I don't think they're going to be the main character of this series.
Because I get that one scene said it all for me. At that when they were out there with the gypsies and they were dancing and doing all that stuff, and then here comes Elias, but she don't know it's him at first, but she's like, something about this guy, I don't know. I'm like, oh, that's a wrap. The writing's on the wall.
Yep.
The writing's on the wall. Sorry,
That's
Keenan,
fair.
you're out.
It's not about, for me, it wasn't about Keenan so much as it was about the undercurrents and the resistance, I guess. So,
actually, I wouldn't mind for that lady to take like a more serious role, because clearly, not that to me, it was more about her being the head of her own faction within the resistance than her being his second. You know, it was more about her having people that followed her exclusively and didn't listen to old boy. So I'm like, she definitely has the ability to split from them and to either help Laya or not. So she's probably going to show up again with her people.
I hope so. I know he had her under guard, but I hope she comes back.
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Mason.
Not Mason, the woman. We saw her twice. She danced with Elias.
Oh, the one who gave her the coin.
The coin.
Yeah.
Who do you think she is? Or do you think
I'm not sure
exactly
she's someone
she is?
I don't think she was in disguise. I just think maybe she has a dog in the fight and we don't know it yet.
Yeah, so there's 3 societies, right? There's the Empire, there's the Scholars, and there's the Tribes people. And so she's going to be the spokesperson for she's going to help them from the Tribes people side. Yeah. And then Elias has that sort of connection to the tribes.
Right. Because he grew up there pretty much for the most part.
Yep.
Which is going to come back again in a big way because he has that favor. She owes him a favor. They're going to need it. They're going to need it.
Oh, yeah.
And he pretty much knew that. He's like, get that coin.
Let me grab that coin.
Yeah.
Of all the things I could pull out of this cell.
Yeah. So I can't wait to see them again. I did like his backstory. His backstory was interesting. How the commander just like was going to murder her own baby. And then she decided, well, I'm not going to. And then she decided, well, I need to go back, but now they're gone. So she was going to go back and take him out, the little infant, but they were gone already. Like, damn, you're cold, lady. Ice cold.
I didn't know what to think about the fact that basically his tribesperson mother lied to him, right? She said that he had been exposed and they'd found him, but he'd actually been left in the tent. I thought that was a strange detail, and I don't know what to think about it. Like, why would you even
know. It's more protective of him because, you know, he was a little kid, 5. He was 6 when he was taken. That's easier to say, you know, we found you outside and saved you rather than some woman, your mother, came in and dropped you off on my bed and then walked away, and we don't know who she is or where she came from or what she was doing. And, you know,
well, they don't necessarily know it was his mother. It could have been
right.
It could have been anybody. Yeah. No, it was somebody came in and dropped you off here. But you
I don't know.
It's probably the mother because, you know, he's just days old. So he's a little tiny baby and they're just like.
I just thought it was a strange detail to include. Like, so we'll see if it matters at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling like I was just like looking at some of the cover art. I didn't read any of the other synopsis, but just by looking at how Elias is dressed and stuff, I'm like, oh, he is totally going to blend back in with the tribes people at some point. Or, yeah, he's just out. He's an outsider, right? And he's never going, when he does go back, it's going to be a takedown. But he's like, I don't know. That's his home. He knows the language. He knows how to blend in. That's what he's going to be doing. Like, and he's going to be trying to have Laya hide in the same way. So,
for now.
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, that'd make a good second book where they kind of hide out with the tribes and build some alliances and get the lay of the land, build up their forces.
Yeah. That's
just he's gonna try and save her brother sooner rather than later.
That's true.
Probably got a few weeks, maybe a couple months.
Okay, so, Casey, the timekeeper. How long? Yes. How much time passed during the course of this book?
Several weeks, because they kept jumping ahead, and that actually kind of annoyed me. Like, I know for the pacing they had to do that, but it'd be like, oh, in the middle of this paragraph, we jumped another week. Oh, now it's been several days. Oh, that's just me and my.
I'm just thinking about the odds that the brother is still alive. Like, why would he still be alive? Why wouldn't they have just killed him?
Because he found the forge and he was designing all those swords and weapons that they want.
Right.
And
So I think they were just interrogating him for a while until they moved him when they couldn't get anything out of him, or they did get what they could. And
But they
like,
know
fine.
about Telumon, right? The actual forge person, the blacksmith.
Yeah, but they don't think he was actually apprenticing him. And they interviewed the guy. They're like, do you know this kid? And he's like, no, I have no idea who this kid is. So they think that her brother was, sneaking around, either stealing these ideas or coming up with some ideas. And so they think it's all related to the resistance, but it's not. So his whole ambiguity is working for him, and it's going to keep him alive for a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, it's awesome. He
I'll
was
roll
able
with that.
to deal with that and not give that guy up. He didn't give anything up.
No.
Because
he's in an interesting position. I like that. That character is appealing to me. To see where he goes. Like he's only alive because they hope someday he'll make swords for them. But yeah, he's in a very weird situation, and it's a little bit hard for me to believe that they just let him be.
Well, they're going to kill him now.
I mean, I don't get the impression that people say no to the commandant very successfully. Maybe it's just because he's a marshal and not a scholar. She's not allowed to brutalize him, but then she is allowed to do it to all the students. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think
I
don't think he is in her ranks. He's like outside of her, I feel like.
Yeah.
So she can't really do anything to him.
I don't know. I feel like if she wanted, she could march her masks over there and do whatever she wants. That's the feeling I get.
But she wants something from him. And as long as she wants him to make whatever weapon she wants, she's not doing shit because she wants the weapon. Like, she wasn't going to hurt Laya as long as he was telling her to bring the girl back, send the girl back. Because and the commandant said that to her, oh, you're lucky he likes you, and I want that weapon or whatever. Because
I don't know. I just find it a little bit weak. Yeah. Given how brutal she is about everything else, and how brutal the whole society is about everything else, for him to tell her no and then just get to keep doing what he does is a little dubious to me. Anyway, I do like the character, and I didn't think that when I was reading it. I'm thinking it now while we're analyzing it, but I think he'll be back.
Oh, definitely. But he did say they kept trying to send him apprentices, and they kept trying to like nudge him into doing stuff, and he just kept saying no and sending them away. So I think we'll learn more about his backstory later, because there's got to be a reason why he can say no and nobody else can say no. That's more than just she's not in charge of him.
Maybe he has something on her, or I don't know. It's something. He's got some leverage or something.
Yeah. The leverage is that he knows how to make these amazing swords, right? But if he won't do it, then is he actually any good to the Empire? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't, to me, it doesn't totally fit with the brutality of the regime that's being described.
Well, I guess that's to be determined still, because I know we're not done with that character too. It's not. We're not done.
Yeah. So I did like him.
Yeah. So with that said, maybe we could talk about the world building a little bit, since you pointed out that feels inconsistent to you as far as like how the society works in general. Did you think the world building was consistent and stable, or did you find issues with that? In at large, in general, like as far as how the traders and the scholars and the merchants and all that government, the societies, all those things were going on. Was that inconsistent for you as well at some times, or was that okay?
For the most part, I think it was okay. It wasn't particularly complex, so it wasn't hard to not to stay consistent, right?
Yeah, I don't think anything like called out to me like with blaring red sirens or anything, but it's like I think the commandant's power was kind of unclear to me. Like how powerful was she? Because it seemed like at one glance, it seems like she is just in charge of Blackcliff, but she has a lot more power than that. It goes beyond that, but it hasn't really been clear how she got that power or why she has it or who, because she's working with the, what's his face? The
Nightbringer.
The Nightbringer. So I don't know. She has more power than just Blackcliff, I feel like, even though they're trying to imply that that's her domain. Obviously it is, but it's more than that.
I feel like it wasn't very clear, like how big of a factor Blackcliff is in the Empire, right? So when you say a word like Empire, I think of a place that's kind of geographically vast, right? And but they've only got one school that trains their military.
Like 3,000 kids in the school or something.
Yeah. So, I mean, strategically, that's a bad idea, right? You can, if you're an enemy of the Empire, I mean, I suppose it's very well defended, but still, that was a question I didn't, I couldn't quite put my finger on, was like, how big is this empire anyway? And they did talk about leaving the empire entirely, when they were talking about defecting and just getting all the way away from it. So there's a world outside of the empire. So I have questions about that, but it didn't particularly strike me as an inconsistency or a problem in the world building. It's just, an aspect that's yet to unfold.
Okay. Because like even some of the, I guess the trials, like that very first trial, at first I was like, what the hell's going on? Like I couldn't really tell what was happening at the beginning of that trial. Like, how did you get out there? Where are you? What's happening? Like, is this fake or real? Like, are you imagining? Is this like, what is it? And so, as far as that, maybe it was like on purpose, kind of more complicated than it needed to be at first. And they figured out what the hell was going on and where they needed to go. But I felt like that was kind of like, I couldn't tell what was going on at first. It took me a minute.
More mystical than it needed to be.
Yeah, I felt like...
Yeah, I mean, they could have just showed up at his door and marched him out to the desert and done a little bit less of the sort of dream walking kind of setup, because that wasn't really important, or maybe it was. Maybe that's how you knew everything wasn't going to be real.
Maybe that's my problem. Like, there's so much like kind of magic elements like in the background, but it's not clear that this world is magical per se. But these ogres, what are they? Ogres, yeah. They seem like mystical and magical, kind of like what they're able to do. But like in other books, it's like, well, technology explains it, right? Chemicals, shots, whatever they choose to do, they explain it by a real world, reason why we're able to trick you like this or abuse you like this or whatever. But this is kind of like this woo-woo.
I have another prediction.
Hey. Yeah, go for it.
The augurs are the jinn.
I think they might be the first scholars who locked up the jinn.
Could be.
Because they locked up all the jinn in that tree except for the leader, the Nightbringer, because he got out. So I feel like it's them. They got the power and the knowledge that they wanted to, but they can't die now. And so they do have some mystical powers because they can't die. They can see the future. They can read minds. They figured out what they wanted to learn from the jinn and from the other supernatural creatures. And now they're paying for it because, they're immortal. They're struggling. They're, seeing the future and trying to figure out how to make everything work in their favor. So that's my theory. My
theory doesn't jive with the notion that they're locked up. So there'd have to be some kind of explanation for that. But yeah, everything you said is a characteristic of the original jinn, right? And the fact that they can't die. And also the thing that they're constrained somehow. They're imprisoned in some way. They're locked into this nightmare of the marshals where they have to, enact these trials, and they're not free to, break the empire, which you can tell Cain kind of wants to. There's another augur that kind of is complicit too, that helps Laia at the end. So, or near the end. So I don't understand what's going on with them, but there's clearly some kind of constraint on them. And they're anyway, that's my theory, and we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, I do think there's a little bit of magic going on with the djinn, Tamara. And I feel like it's mostly kind of psychological or psychic, where they have the mind reading powers and they can kind of, the dream walking thing was interesting, but it mostly seems to be psychic type stuff.
Mm-hmm. So do you think it's going to be more like fantastical or more fantasy as we get like into it? Like, I don't know. I just wish outside of like telling of stories that it was either magical or not. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of hard.
We saw the ghouls, and there was that whole, one of the trials involved a ton of the beings that they had thought were mythical, and turns out they're not. So they learned that, you know, all those stories or all those myths that the scholars used to tell are actually true. And if they go off and live with the tribes people, they seem to be sort of the keeper of the stories, right? So I think we'll learn more about it when they are hanging out with the tribes people.
Yeah, probably. So as they learn about them, more things are revealed as they learn about them.
I think so. Well, because I mean, they had the ghouls at the beginning. Is it inconsistent? Maybe. There's a lot going on. And I feel like they did an okay job of putting all this stuff kind of around the periphery and laying the seeds. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I feel like this is going to be like one of these things where as we get more invested in the world, it's either going to get better or better, better and better, or it's going to be one of these things where it's like a big sophomore slump and we're going to be like, what the fuck just happened? And then it rebounds. Like, I feel like it's going to be one extreme or the other. It's going to be like, I just feel like because there's so many breadcrumbs laid, so many things going on, it's either going to make it even better for us, or it's going to be like, oh, she couldn't decide what to do or what to carry into the second book.
Well, we can see the second book is going to be, well, probably, because I would have said after the first couple chapters that the first book was about getting her brother out of jail. It looks like the second book is going to start with getting her brother out of jail. But we'll see.
They make it, or he doesn't die, or something else
like the
crazy.
Short term. Yeah, didn't Elias rattle off like 4 things that he promised to do, and getting her brother out was only one of them? So I don't remember anymore.
Yeah, I think he just promised to. Yeah, I don't know, some shit. He did promise some stuff. Well, she made him promise some of those things. So.
She had 3 conditions, and then it turned out to be 4, I think.
Yeah.
Well, which the first was getting them out of there. I think that was part of it. Okay, y'all. I'm like looking at the synopsis for the second book randomly, and I have to pick another edition because this looks like it's in Russian or something. Okay. Lord, Goodreads. Okay, I'm like, what is this? Oh gosh, Dark Forces, human and otherworldly. Here we go. Okay, yes.
Okay. We're going to learn more about the monsters.
Oh, and apparently we are not done with Helene either. Because, at the end there, she let Elias go.
Let him go.
And she's like, look, I can't promise, like, I let you go this time, but I am bound by this promise I made. And I 2 times over, she promised that she would save him. And then she promised that she will keep him alive. Promised to keep him alive. And then she made this solemn swear to Marcus. So she will be doing his bidding, whether she wants to or not. And she is a rule follower, so she will do it. So I'm curious to see how it's going to be when they come up against each other again. Because they will. It's going to be this push between them for the rest of this book series. I feel like it's going to keep coming up again and again and again.
I hope not. I hope it's more of like a not friendly banter, because they're obviously trying to kill each other. But not that I love you, I don't love you, I want to kiss you, please kiss me, don't kiss me. I'm over this love triangle. That's
no,
not
I don't think it's going to be in a love. Well, maybe on her part, she's going to be like, I love you, but I'm going to have to kill you. I love you, but I'm going to have to take you I'm going to have to detain you. She's going to follow.
She's going to be the external tension, right? So, I could see that.
Friends. Huh? Do you think they're going to try his friends, Dex and Harris, I think his name was? The two who saw him right before he left and they turned around and walked away. Do you think they're going to come after with Helena and try and kill him? Or do you think they're going to let him go? Because they're masks. They're like officially graduated. They don't have to do whatever. I don't know.
Oh, they're going to follow. They're going to do what they're supposed to do, but not to say that they won't jump ship. Maybe they might somewhere along the way decide to switch teams. But if originally they will be with the other mask going after him, but maybe they'll defect.
I hope so.
I hope so too. I really, really disliked the whole scene where he had the combat trial. That made me sick to my stomach.
Aw.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was awful, but it made weirdly poetic sense. Like, if I was a monk who's trying to destroy this castle and destroy the empire, who am I battling? I'm battling these masks guys. And so what's the best way to kill off my opposition is to have them kill each other, which is really fucked up. Like, don't get me wrong. That's awful.
Yeah.
But that makes the most sense. And we were really emotional because we saw them as human, not as the people who's tormented by the masks, not by the people who are like, these are the villains who go kill grandparents and children and, rape and pillage and do all this shit. Like, we saw them as the guy who's in love with his fiance and the friends who laugh and hang out together. As Elias saw them as brothers. So that's why it was more emotional for us.
Well, I know there were lots more Marcuses in that group that go around raping the servants and doing all kind of crazy stuff. I'm sure there's lots more people like him among the mask, obviously. So they're not, as we said earlier, they're not good people necessarily. Some are, some aren't. Some are hiding in plain sight. Some are not.
I think there's the theme that we're going to see that I'm seeing in this book is about loyalty, right? And what you're loyal to and what you are willing to. And Elias talked about the line that he wouldn't cross, and then he crossed it, and so I mean that's what the trailer emphasized, right? What are you willing to do? How far would you go? That's kind of, I guess, the theme so far. Probably will resonate through the book. And again, I'm kind of getting back to this question of, how big is the empire, right? Because the masks become part of the military, right? They're like the SS. They're the elite forces. But we don't know very much about the empire's army, right? So do the masks lead it? Do they all swear loyalty to the empire at the end when the new emperor is crowned or whatever? So we didn't see the rest of that ceremony, but it seems to me like when they graduate, they probably normally swear fealty to the emperor, right?
That's what it seems like. And it seemed like the only reason they didn't was because they had these trials that came up.
So they kind of was killed, yeah.
Right.
I mean,
so
it was taking the emperor over a week to come to the school, probably more than that. They said at one point he's on his way and it's 7 days later and then he's dead. That was right before the fourth trial. So does that mean he always shows up every school year to have these people swear fealty to him? Or is this just something that happens on the side and he doesn't really interact with it.
Oh no, this was because the augurs said that he's about to die and they're going to crown a new emperor, so he's on his way there to kill him off because he so I don't
no, that's what he wants, but like in a normal school year, I don't think he'd show up. I don't know.
Not necessarily, but he doesn't have to be there for the recruits to have to swear loyalty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they were going to be the leaders of your army. I'd want to see them in action.
Maybe.
It's about rank. Like, I'm not a military person, but it's definitely ranks, right? Like, the president of the United States doesn't go to,
graduation.
Right. He does not do that. So I feel like that is like the same thing. Like, maybe there was a particular reason why he was coming this time. Maybe it was, I don't know. I don't know exactly why, but
because
they started the trials.
They're gonna
that's not his reason for coming. He had to have his own motivations for. I heard I'm supposed to die, so let me get on the road and come make my way there to make it easy.
No. I mean, I think that is why he came, is because because they're doing these trials to select a new emperor. So he was on his way to
put it into
it
or
happen.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he was not buying into the augurs. Plan there. He was going to take out whoever the emperor was going to be, or maybe all 4 candidates.
See, that seems weird.
But it took him a while to get there.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe
I guess maybe this is just a YA thing, but I feel like there's a big gap between 18-year-olds and the emperor. Like, I don't know what's going on there. What happens in between? Like,
clearly you can be an 18-year-old emperor because we got one.
That's weird too. Although it's not unusual for, I guess, historical times, right? Because people only live to be 30.
That's what they do every time an emperor dies. Then the question is, how long has the current emperor been emperor? He could be 28, or he could.
It was the grandfather.
It's a linear succession. So the emperor's line has been in power for something like 500 years, I think they said. But he's mortal. He's not living forever. It's a
this is the great grandson.
Right. It's hereditary. It's a hereditary line. So the augurs are like,
have an heir.
Right. So the augurs are like, well,
we're gonna have to.
This one is going with all of his. I mean, I don't know if he had a son, but the implication was that his whole family was going to be wiped out at the same time he was, and then and they all made it happen. So
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I had the story straight in my head, and as you guys are talking, it's getting more murky. It's not getting clearer. It's getting murkier, and that's not good. I'm like, well, I thought it was this, but you guys are saying something different. So now I'm not sure what's what. Maybe it doesn't matter in the whole scheme of things. It's going to come out in the wash.
Every reader takes away something a little different from a book.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
And I think they'll flesh it out a lot more in the second book, because this was all very rushed. They just mentioned the emperor in passing until he's like, oh yeah, he's on his way. Oh no, now he's dead, and we don't know anything about him.
And by the way, the commandant made it happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The letter and So it was just very rushed there. But I think that'll get fleshed out more in the future books.
Oh, I hope so. Because if they all go at this pace, then it's going to be more things that, unless you're just reading the book and just taking it at face value and you're not really digging into the weeds, it might not be, but once you start digging in the weeds, stuff is like, well, maybe, I guess. Did they say that? Maybe. I don't know. Let me go back and look. I feel like that whole thing is a thing. So.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's going to be a faction that is going to be loyal to the old emperor, or if there's going to be someone from his retinue that feels like they should be the successor that they're going to end up having to fight, or if it's just going to be Marcus, and Marcus is going to be the ultimate bad guy, which seems more like.
That's going to be interesting, because I never got that vibe that there will be any more competition for Marcus after he took the crown.
Yeah. So it's going to be Marcus and Helene. And the emperor, the empire's forces, right? And then there's going to be the tribes people. There's going to be the resistance for the scholars. There's going to be the commandant, who's kind of a wild card. She kind of controls Marcus, but he occasionally goes a little rogue on her.
And I think he will go rogue, especially, and I don't know to what extent, but the fact that he had to kill his twin brother and the fact that Elias didn't have to kill Helene. Oh, he's pissed. He's like, they said I had to kill, you know what I'm saying? This is what they said, and you didn't have to. So I feel like, I mean, obviously that was his twin brother. So it's going to affect him for a long time, and it may make him even more brutal than he already is.
Absolutely.
He's going to have to go down.
And he's not
going to get he's not going to get a redemption arc. He's not, and he shouldn't get one. But he's also, I don't think, just going to be the puppet, because he was lied to. He's like, he didn't have to kill her. He's going to feel bitter. So I don't think he's going to be the perfect follower like they're going to think he's going to be. If you remember Cook's story, right, the Nightbringer wants to destroy all of humanity, right? He's not happy with the scholars just being enslaved and crushed. He wants them all dead. And I don't think that he's going to stop with the scholars. I think he wants all of humanity wiped out, which means the commandant doesn't know the end game. And so they're going to have to figure out how to bring down the Nightbringer, right? So that's probably the fourth book, right? So the second book is going to be get us out of prison and build some alliances. The third book is going to be conquer the empire. And then the fourth book is going to be bring down the Nightbringer.
Take out the Nightbringer.
That's my prediction.
That makes sense. Yeah, they're going to have to take him out because he does want everyone dead. So that is
so
the
they'll have to find
showdown.
a way to free the Jinn, and then they'll have to help them.
All with the backdrop of falling in love. Oh, because YA, you have to.
How far would you go? What line would you cross?
Well, there are going to be lots of dangerous situations and life-altering situations, obviously, to come. So, and lots of teenage angst because they're still teenagers.
Of course.
Acting like functioning and acting like it, having to think like adults as they do in YA, Take these young brains and make them act like full-on adults and do adult things. Typical YA. But I liked it. I thought it was entertaining. I'm glad we got to break it down, and even digging into the weeds. It didn't change my opinion on it. I still enjoyed it, which was good. I'm relieved that I didn't start disliking it.
Oh, good.
Because that could happen. It didn't this time, thankfully.
Oh, good.
All right. I guess it's probably time for us to rate this thing. You guys ready to rate it?
I am.
Okay. How about you go first, Casey?
I give it a 5-star.
All right.
Yeah, I love this story. I binged it. I was hooked. I love Laya's story. I love Elias's story. I think the pacing was perfect for their character growth. I would have fleshed out the world building just a little bit, but I think for a book one that has more books coming, it was fine. I love this book. I can't wait to read the next one.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy for you because I know. I'm glad you loved it.
I'm so happy.
All right. How about you, Nicola?
I'm going to just be totally honest. It's about a 3 for me, maybe 3.5. I really liked the ending, so I'm optimistic for the future books. I liked it when I feel like things started really happening there, and I loved seeing Laya's agency start to come out. So I loved her plan. I thought that was amazing that she had thought of all those things, and it all kind of came together in a short amount of time after she discovered that she couldn't depend on the resistance to help her, that she's just going to make things happen with her allies that she built and she trusts. So I really liked the ending. There was a lot I didn't like, or a lot that I kind of waded through, and some of that's just because it's YA and it's not my my favorite thing. But I'm just gonna give it my honest rating. And when I ended it, I didn't want to jump immediately into the next book, which to me is sort of the difference between a 3 and a 4, I think.
Okay. Well, I definitely think it's going to be interesting for you as we go forward, because I do not think that the violence will be toned down at all. I don't think it will.
Probably get worse.
Sometimes it's a problem, and I don't know why it was a problem with this book, because I've read other books that were worse. There's a lot of paranormal that's just really bloody and gory. Maybe it's because they're kids that bothered me. Maybe it was just because it seems so fucking senseless, pardon my language, but just that the augurs set it up this way, and it didn't have to be that way. I mean, they weren't enemies. They were, I don't know. I just found it very gratuitous.
Yeah. They're puppeteers anyway. They're trying to pull these strings to get the results they think they see.
Yeah. That's the big question. Is what are these augurs doing, and why are they doing it?
So with that said, I will rate this a 4. I feel like it's a strong 4. Like I said, I thought the pacing was pretty good overall. I liked both Laia and Elias. I liked Elias' story a little bit more. But now that they're combined together officially, I'm curious to see if they'll still continue with a back and forth point of view for these characters, maybe, but they're together. So I don't know. Probably she'll continue, but I didn't have any big blaring problems with it. I enjoyed it for what it was worth. It gave me some throwback feels as far as YA dystopia type reading with some fantasy in there. So I liked all of that. I don't have any big complaints. It was not perfect for me, so I could not get a 5, but it was strong, in my opinion. I look forward to the next one.
Yay! I picked a good series.
Yes. Yeah, so far so good. Let's keep up honestly, and this is another one of those series that has a really devoted following. People loved this thing. Yeah. So the fans are the fans. Yeah. They're making trailers. They're putting, gifts together. They're making artwork. They're doing all the things.
I don't know. Maybe that was part of the trouble I had. I felt like there was I had high expectations, and I don't know that it really panned out for me. But when we were talking about, when we announced it, I couldn't find it again, but there was some article that named it one of the top 10 it made some top best fantasy all time, an all-time fantasy list, and I was like, wow, okay. And I didn't really see that when I read it, but
I don't know. I always take these lists later. I always take these lists with a grain of salt, right? Because it's whoever's reading the book, it's their opinion.
Yeah.
So grain of salt, but
that way about the Grisha series. So a lot of people call that the number 1 best YA fantasy series of all time, and I'm like, nope.
Not quite. But I think one of the things that I really, really loved is that we got to read a woman of color writer in this genre. I loved that. And I think I was, having these expectations of something different because it was a woman of color writer. And I think I did get something different, and I liked it. So applaud. Good job.
Women of color.
Yes.
Diversity.
Love it.
Love it.
Love it. All right, guys, I think we're done. What do you think? Are we done?
I think we're done.
Seems like a wrap.
Okay, awesome. So check back with us next month. You guys might want to join Shelf Addiction Official so you can talk about it live with us in a book club meeting. And next month we'll be reading A Torch Against the Night, which is book 2. Yes, so get excited. Join us in the group. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next conversation. If you're new to the podcast, subscribe because you want to keep hearing what we have to say on these books. And that's it. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye, guys.
Happy reading. Bye.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction Podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.
When you place a wager with William Hill Sportsbook, every sports moment becomes even more interesting. And we have a special 2021 offer to help you bet on all your favorite sports risk-free. Download the William Hill mobile app. And when you sign up, you can get started with a risk-free bet of up to $2,021. Use promo code RADIORF. Must be present in Virginia. 21 plus only. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call, text, or chat our confidential and toll-free helpline at 1-888-532-3500. Let's make it interesting with William Hill Sportsbook.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the name your price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.